Greetings. I am El Brujo. My true name is not relevant. Perhaps you will think of me only as a man in a mask and a captain's hat who has a funny accent and an axe to grind. I am not affiliated with the Arab Spring, the Occupy movements, or the group Anonymous, though I am sympathetic with their goals. You may be wondering why I am doing this, turning to a popular media channel in order to share my point of view regarding contemporary problems within American society. Some of you will no doubt be displeased or even outraged by the unorthodox solutions which I propose for these problems. This little series of video segments is my tour de force, in which I offer ways to diffuse what many of you see as a powder keg situation which has been building in our country. Let me explain that, like anyone else, quality of life is what matters to me first and foremost. When my quality of life is acceptable, I am content and happy. When my quality of life is not acceptable, I react. It never ceases to disgust me how many of my fellow citizens willingly accept degradation of their quality of life. An idea is a means to an end. An idea in and of itself is neither a beneficial tool or a dangerous weapon. Whether an idea succeeds or fails depends not only on how you use it, it is also contingent on how it affects the quality of the lives of others around you. Unlike terrorists, ideas cannot be killed. You cannot sue an idea. You cannot shoot it. You cannot put it in prison. You cannot torture it. You cannot punish an idea. When I espouse propaganda by the deed, I espouse neither terrorism nor political oppression because they alienate people. Life and quality of life are not mine to take. If you want to win hearts and minds, you need to present alternative scenarios which benefit people, not punish them. You need to convince people that their quality of life can be improved rather than degraded. That is why I advocate redress and not destabilization. You can choose to die for terror or for oppression, or to live to improve your quality of life. I would urge you to choose the latter. The recent events in Egypt validated my point. Peaceful protesters accomplished in 18 days what terrorists have not been able to accomplish in over 20 years. That was the blackest eye Al Qaeda ever got. People who believed in an idea succeeded not only in ousting a hated individual from power, but also in making a terrorist organization's goals completely irrelevant. This is proof to me that nonviolent social change is an even greater threat to the status quo than violence is. Violence can be met with violence, and it often is. But nonviolent social change is an entirely different animal. When you are confronted with a square peg which does not fit into a round hole, do you use a bigger hammer? When I look around today, I see a lot of people trying to use bigger hammers. A problem cannot be solved with another problem. While I find myself surrounded by much despair and angst about this crazy idea that we are living in the end times, I recognize that we are living in the time of nothing more spectacular than a series of paradigm shifts. The only people who truly feel negative about these paradigm shifts are some who stand to lose the right to play God with our lives, such as those who wish the United States would turn into a non-communist clone of North Korea, while others wish the United States would turn into a Christian version of Iran. Some think like victims because they want to be victims. Then there are those who are secretly but actively adapting to life after these paradigm shifts, as I, El Brujo, have adapted. To use an analogy, if paradigms are like tectonic plates, the United States is sitting on some very big fault lines. Most of us fear these paradigm shifts and push back against them because they demand that we adopt a whole different mindset. Ironically, terrorists are most afraid of all of these paradigm shifts. But I welcome these paradigm shifts because I understand how they can improve my quality of life and yours too. In the process, you can learn to live as El Brujo lives, without fear. Resist these paradigm shifts, and history simply routes around you. If you are one of the type of individuals who would actively fear and oppose these changes El Brujo has foreseen, be warned that public apathy is a very poor firewall. I do not regard myself as a revolutionary because there is nothing revolutionary about wanting to live a decent life. At a future time yet to be announced, I will reveal my true identity. You and I will come to know each other very well as time goes on, and whether we like it or not, the realizations are going to come and the changes, and I can do nothing to stop them even if I wanted to. My job is to clarify them for you and urge you to be prepared to decide whether you would rather adapt to the changes or try in vain to push back against them. I am not a man who likes to break his promises or to make idle boasts. I have seen the future. You will live it. Egos will be hurt, rules and hearts will have to be broken, toes will need to be stepped on, things we consider givens will have to be re examined, and I may have to call upon supernatural forces to help bring about these changes. You need to decide for yourself whether this is good news or bad. My good is not necessarily the same as your good. Either way, fate is a powerful force which you ignore at your peril. And in closing, may I remind you that just as the carrot is a better incentive than the stick, the pen is still much, much mightier than any sword.